fight them back. Is YouTube gonna work? Just my YouTube stream. Okay, it's just worked. Alright, thank you, that's good. It took him a while. Anyway. Okay. We're playing GTA 5. Why is it saying that fucking on YouTube GTA 6 is already a category? GTA 5. Are they just preparing? Come and fight them back. Everyone's holding the line. And I'm just gonna be grinding, so... Like, I'm not gonna be in a, I'm just gonna be in an invite-only lobby. So I don't want to deal with other people. Can't be asked. So watch me get fucking distracted immediately. I'll switch it to OBS on to GCA once I'm in the lobby. I'm having to turn my fan on, so sorry if the audio gets a bit fucked. I say if, but it will get fucked up. Invite only session. Alright. I got my bunker to sell from yesterday. Yeah. GTA. Okay. Alright. What time is that? Okay. Can you, do Merbike if, what's the word? If you're a CEO instead of a president? I don't know. It's too late for our friends. Went to peace in war that never ends. Drink and unite. Does the ground white on the holy night. And yes, I have the Polito Bay bunker. I know it's the worst in the game, arguably. But you know, I'll live. Love that. We drink and unite. This has the road and the snow turns the ground white. On the bridges in the holy night. Bridges on the front of the home. Gotta slow down for that bit, obviously. Go casino in a minute. For the wheel, obviously. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Might be a sleep deprivation. You never know. I'm happy with that. I got supplies left, but I don't want to, you know, have to deal with 2 vehicles. Sometimes the ground white. Los Santos, 75 grand. I think I also have my warehouse to sell. And obviously today I'm just grinding, so you know. Yeah, gonna be selling multiple times because I fuck away in this game. Fuck. Didn't want to do that. I am the best driver in this game. You just got to do this. Meh, nerds. You'll love to see it. That's just miles an hour. Speed, I'm driving the van. Nerd. No, wrong fucking... Fuck's sake. Fuck off. Why am I having to fight both? Both the gang and the what seemingly is Merryweather. Fuck off! Pissing me off. Thank you. Alright. Hurry up. Is the reason I'm not going to be able to complete this sale because Merryweather are a bunch of pussies who can't climb a fucking hill? Really? Is that honestly what's happening? Hurry up! Fucking hell. It's fucking bullshit. Not what I wanted to do. There you are. What the fuck? Let me in. Thank you. Oh, they've got a helicopter now. Hurry up. Getting bored over here. You coming? sake. Oh, I'm just gonna wait. Oh, I'll just drive to it. Yeah, I'm just gonna drive to it. Fuck's sake. Why are you running away? Huh? Why the fuck are you running away? Am I? I should be recording this. Like, shorts, I mean. The days of age of numbered and weak, fish to the sky, soldiers left to die. Of the wall, oh will the city fall. What the Oh, underground. Maybe. Nope, helicopter. Let me get in the fucking gun! This game is so shit sometimes. No. The helicopter! Thank you. where's the helicopter? There it is. There's another one. There we go. Getting this. Oh, you assholes! Anyway. Fuck's sake. Oh, for fuck's sake. There we go. Will that actually be right in front of me? Yeah, it will. Thank you. Fuck's sake. See how many crates I have in my warehouse. Go from there. Although the casino is right there, so I'll go do that first. The land is the made the stand, disregarded demand. Well, those mistakes are heard. To the brain, made the stand, disregarded demand. Come on! Ah! Let's go! That one. Actually, no, that one. I'll do that one, why not? Yep. There we go. probably shit. They usually are. But I'll try it out anyway. Stand to disregarded demand. No, this one. This one? Fuck's sake. I'll just drive there. This is a low way. Go piss first though. Okay, I'm back. And I've ordered food, because I'm fucking hungry. And I can. So, yeah. Fuck you! Anyway. Didn't know this was San Antonio. Shit, I didn't have the game, the stream on the game. Great. Just great. My one in the fatherland. What? Can't I just sell all of them? What? I saw the... Do they get sold separately? Sounds like it. I'll just do the special one. Then I'll go back and do the rest. I'm just doing going where the game tells me to go. Yeah, that ain't right. What the fuck? What the fuck? Why would you do this to yourselves? I don't get it. Feels like cyberbullying. Can't be fucking shocked. It cannot be worth the resources. It's 90 grand. And you decided that it's worth risking your helicopter. The stupidity is astounding. Hey. I'll get my new car out. This one. I think it's the Cruiser. Could be wrong. Yeah, I am wrong. It's a fucking bicycle. Of course it is. What else would it be? No. Grab one of the cars. And then... Just watching me steal a car. Of course. Fucking blue collar workers not really caring. Not their job. I just want to check something. Like, there's a bomber that I just want to have a look at. Like, because I remember it looking like the Vulcan. Not that. Yeah, the Volatile. Yeah, it is just a fucking Vulcan. I want it. I want it more than I want any new business. Yes. The last one. Oh shit, my order's on its way. That's great. Free get dressed. The fuck? Okay. Handle's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get clothes on real quick. Okay, I got my food. Meaning, I'll, fuck. I'm really unfit. I'll be fucking watching YouTube and shit. So, fucking hell.
These are
Fuck off. Wrestling bitch.
So my generation probably...
You can probably guess what I wanted to watch. Just from that. Yeah.
remembers the Cold War as the chapter at the back of the history textbook that we never had enough time to learn about in any detail. But we know the long and short of it. America and the USSR pretended to like each other just long enough to give Germany a good whooping, and then they both held the world hostage with the threat of thermonuclear Armageddon. But I want to point out, as inevitable as it may seem, having a Cold War wasn't part of the plan. As a matter of fact, hopes were very high during World War II that the rest of the century was going to be nothing but roses. After all, with the Axis in ruins and, well, most of Europe in ruins too, the Allies were looking at a clean slate. Fascism was gone, mostly, and while capitalism and communism were radically different, in theory, both the USA and USSR were opposed to the kind of militarism and expansionism that had driven the Germans to war, and they had the opportunity to quite literally create a new world order, to change the rules to make the world a safer place. That's what they wanted to do. The problem, of course, is that their ideas of peace looked very different. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Swear to God, we got him. You can't leave.
Fuck you.
42 with a
Fuck your
captivating
sponsor.
little document I like to call the Atlantic Charter. Mostly because that's what it's called, the Atlantic Charter. Britain and America wrote this little booklet outlining their vision for a brighter tomorrow, and everyone liked it so much, including the Soviet Union, that they made it official. The Allies took on the official name of the United Nations, and this, in writing, is what they were all fighting for. Once the Nazis were gone, there would be no one left who could oppose the right to self-determination, freedom of the seas, and a world free of want and fear. Just like what happened in World War I, this ambitious list of ideals was spearheaded by the American president. Now with World War I, that didn't really go so great. President Wilson got a Nobel Peace Prize for creating the League of Nations, and then America never joined. And the League could do basically nothing against the imperial ambitions of the Axis, so in World War II it just stopped existing. When it came to the United Nations and President FDR, he was in some ways a lot more pragmatic. Unlike the League of Nations, where every nation was equal and could gum up the process and nothing could get done, FDR's plan was for the world to be governed by the world police, including the Soviet Union, the loose cannon who never stops until he gets his man. America, the renegade defender of freedom who shoots first and asks questions later. Britain, the razor-sharp detective who plays by his own rules. And China, whose job is to babysit Japan and agree with America. Everyone else, every other country on the planet, was going to be disarmed of anything more powerful than a rifle. And because the winners of World War II were such good friends, they would agree on their policies forever for the sake of world peace. Clearly, during the war, the Allies had a lot of trust in Stalin. Prime Minister Churchill said, "Poor Neville Chamberlain believed he could trust Hitler. He was wrong. But I don't think I am wrong about Stalin." FDR said of him, "I just have a hunch that Stalin is not that kind of a man. I think that if I give him everything I possibly can and ask for nothing from him in return, he won't try to annex anything and will work with me for a world of democracy and peace." But yeah, once it came time to start coordinating with Stalin, it was clear he had different goals for what the world of 1950 should look like. I've had about enough of this. I was only joking. Come back! Stalin is not a man who solves his problems with purges. Then let's be serious. What are your intentions when the war is finished? I will begin by reclaiming my borders. Does that include half of Poland? Yes, including Poland. You mean the same country we're at war with Hitler for taking half of? It's no worry. Poland will have part of East Germany to make up for it. You know, Winston and I have been talking, and we feel it's very important that Germany not be put in the same position post-World War II as it was post-World War I, or else they'll be back for revenge in 20 years. I'm taking the Baltic states too. You also agreed with us that the right of a people to self-determination is paramount. Within reason. Not helping, Winston. Stalin, you said you agreed with the charter. At the very least, you
Yeah, the Indians aren't civilized for self-determination yet.
must see the importance of democracy in Eastern Europe. Do not worry. Will the Red Army occupy all of Eastern Europe? Yes. Could you stop me from forcibly Sovietizing half the continent? No. But just because I like you, I will do it democratically. Britain did have contingency plans in place for declaring war on the USSR if Stalin broke his promises for Poland, and FDR saw the Baltic states as a major point of contention. If there was a time to pressure the Soviets militarily for breaking the rules they'd all agreed to, it would have been while the war machine was already hot. So, Stalin gave Eastern Europe a form of democracy so buried in quotation marks it began to look like razor wire. You see, there weren't a lot of communists left in Eastern Europe after the Nazis went and purged them, so it was up to the Soviets to organize, support, and occasionally militarize new communist parties. To broadly overgeneralize, at first it was a simple matter of getting these parties some seats in a democratic government, and then, after a couple of years, hey.
Love Roblox? Earn Roblox digital gift cards with Microsoft Reward.
Rig an election here, stage a coup there, and would you look at that, suddenly the Communist Party has complete authority. By that point, FDR was dead and Churchill was out of office, and whatever veneer of optimism they may have had for Stalin was gone. The US was particularly spooked because even places the USSR wasn't occupying were starting to turn towards communism. Stalin had actually made a secret deal with Churchill to stay out of Greece, but because Yugoslavia was communist, they really wanted Greece to be communist. And China. Dear old China, America's eastern ally whom FDR had put on the UN Security Council to be another voice against the Soviets, that government was also falling to a communist revolution. Now, the US had a plan to bolster their own support, and to their credit, it wasn't a bunch of coups, it was a bunch of money. The US, as the one country virtually unharmed by the war, was going to give out huge economic aid to any country that agreed to open their markets to foreign trade, effectively trying to bring them into the capitalist fold. Broadly speaking, it was a huge success. France and West Germany were quickly back up on their feet, and in France at least, the message was received loud and clear. You can either have communist ministers in your cabinet, or you can have money. Some members of the Eastern Bloc were curious about the whole thing, but as soon as Stalin heard about the requirements to open international markets, he politely yet firmly placed his hand on their shoulders and told them they didn't want that money, actually. The US sort of had the next hand in escalations. With both Germany and Korea, the plan during the Second World War was to bring them back together, but the US calculated that if the country reunited in full, even if it were strictly pledged to be neutral, it would end up being influenced by the Soviets sooner or later. So the US took the step of taking all of the non-communist parts of the country and declaring them effectively independent. The Soviets did not take to the creation of West Germany and South Korea well. Obviously, that's where East Germany and North Korea came in, but it was more than that. Berlin, which had previously been the capital of Germany, was also split in half between East and West, and that's not because it was right in the middle of the country. It was, in fact, smack dab in the middle of East Germany. Stalin tried to force the Allies' hand by laying a devious trap. He closes off all the roads and all the rail lines, shuts down power to the Allied-occupied zones, and blockades the city. If West Berlin wants supplies and money, it's either gonna come from the East or the USA is gonna have to start a war. But Truman had other ideas. Please don't shoot, please don't shoot, please don't shoot, please don't shoot. Sir, the Americans are sending supplies by plane. Go!
They don't want to start a war with, the only country with nukes. A smart idea.
God's darning! Are we going to shoot them? No, they'll never keep this up. They did. It was a huge logistical challenge, but the Allies pulled off a level of coordination and precision seldom seen outside of wartime. And so war was averted for the time being. But if Stalin was going to use the threat of war to have his way, then by gum, America was going to be ready for war. NATO was formed in 1949 with its famous Article 5 declaring that an attack against America or any of her allies was an attack against all of them together. But then, mere months later, the Soviet Union got the bomb. All the rising tension of the 1940s never went away. It just all of a sudden had nowhere to go without destroying all life on Earth, except into an endless stream of proxy wars. The Cold War was on.
Alright, what next?
Zone Flora.
Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. Alright, that's...
Chapter 1. Charles the Broke. The most interesting thing about King Charles I is that he was 5 foot 6 inches tall at the start of his reign, and only 4 foot 8 inches tall at the end of it. The English Parliament had been stewing in frustration with the king. Well,
my shit is fucking crashed. By the way, I would say colour me shocked, but I'm not that shocked. Not that shocked. It's not a big deal though.
Chapter 1. Charles the Broke. The most interesting thing about King Charles I is that he was 5 foot 6 inches tall at the start of his reign, and only 4 foot 8 inches tall at the end of it. The English Parliament had been stewing in frustration with the king well before Charles ever put on a crown. His father, King James, of Bible fame, really wanted to go to war to help his family in Bohemia, but Parliament voted no. I am England, and if I say we're going to war, then by God, we're going to war. That's adorable. I propose a motion we stop paying taxes to the king. Seconded. Aye. The ayes have it. Of course, we might be willing to reconsider if Prince Charles marries a Protestant and England goes to war with Spain. Well, James and Charles thought that was a load of steaming hogbollocks. In fact, they had already made plans for Charles to marry the Spanish Infanta. So Charles made up his mind to go around Parliament. He and his good friend, George Villiers, Duke of Buckingham, would sneak out of the country incognito to make this marriage happen. I say, Tom, what a capital idea. Very quite, Jack. Most quite indeed. Oh, sir, deliver us to the coast, would you? Yes, your majesty. Princessa, a couple of hooligans to see you. It's me, the Prince of England. A couple of clean-shaven hooligans to see you. Her Grace does not speak to infidels, I'm afraid. She tells me she will marry you on the condition you convert to Roman Catholicism, and you must repeal your edicts of religious discrimination. Should you comply, you may expect to see Her Grace next 1 year after the wedding. We're going to war with Spain! That wasn't the deal. Trust me, it was never gonna fly. Am I right, Villiers? Totes, Your Majesty. Totes. But war with Spain is expensive! Then why did you ask for it? Charles and Villiers had the crybaby treasurer impeached. Impeachment had only happened once recently, and James warned the boys that they would regret giving Parliament such a powerful tool to deal with their enemies. For the moment, though, they had a little win. Parliament tossed just enough money to the king to send one spunky mercenary captain and a gaggle of ruffians to go fight for Bohemia. They made it as far as the Netherlands. But that's okay. After all, Parliament had already approved the war, so Charles, now king, calls Parliament together the next year and says, "Hey, things didn't go quite as planned, so let's talk about our budget this year. Actually, let's talk about your wife." Charles had given up on the Spanish Infanta and married a French woman. Problem is, the French? Also Catholic. And part of the deal to get that dowry money was that Charles had to punish Catholics in England a little bit less for being Catholics, which did not fly in Parliament. And if you want the rights to import and export taxes, you're going to have to call us again next year, because we're only going to lend you those rights. And another thing, ditch Villiers. The man's a clown. Villiers acted on my orders. If you've got a problem with him, you've got a problem with me, muchacho. Too bad you can't impeach a king. Ha! Checkmate, dweebs! Your Majesty, I've heard enough. Parliament is hereby dissolved. Charles chalks up all the drama to some bad apples. So he does a little election tampering. He makes sure that all those troublemakers are elected county sheriff, and sheriffs aren't allowed to leave their county to come to London and participate in Parliament. With that business squared away, he calls Parliament the following year. "We're not giving you more money." "What? Why?" "Because last time you gave it to this bozo and he spent £250,000 to get 5,400 sailors drunk in Cadiz Harbor." Come on, you had to be there. He's gotta go. All in favor of impeachment? Dismissed. You're all dismissed. Parliament over. Appreciate it, man. I got you, bro. Charles looks for new ways to get money, and he comes up with loans. Kind of like government-issued war bonds, in a way, but if you don't buy them, you get thrown in prison without trial. Charles racks up a bunch of cash, gives it to Villiers, sends him to France, and it's gone. It's all gone. Villiers failed miserably. And where did that send Charles? Right back to Parliament. Of course we'll give you the money, on the condition you never go behind our backs again. And stop taking our stuff! Yeah, no more taking our stuff and throwing us in jail. Okay. And for God's sake, get rid of Villiers. Never! Petition of right. More like petition of fright. Am I right, Villiers? Up high! George Villiers was stabbed to death that year by a man who'd been passed up for a promotion and was tired of watching George screw up without reprisal. The next thing Parliament wanted to do was discuss import-export taxes and how Charles was sort of going around Parliament's backs again, and Charles snapped Parliament out of existence for 11 years and arrested 9 MPs. Charles was determined to make it in the world all on his own, even if he had to use every loophole in the book. This time, he banked on ship money. You see, back in the old days, before England had a standing navy, the king used to order seaside towns to build ships for war. Or they could give him money instead. Sure, in 1634, England wasn't under any immediate threat, but you never know what could happen, and technically, a levy for national defense was not a tax, which meant he was in the clear. King Charles was happy as a clam. He could finally turn England into his own personal autocracy. There was just one problem. Religion. You see, when James VI of Scotland became James I of England and inherited not only a kingdom, but an entire religion whose doctrine made him the infallible supreme leader, well, he thought the Scots really ought to give this whole Anglicanism thing a try, but he'd have to take it slow. Charles now was just delivering on some of the patch notes to Christianity that James had promised, but the Scots weren't happy. They hated the church hierarchy being led by bishops, who they saw as a bunch of stooges appointed by the king, and when the king handed down a new prayer book with new religious doctrines, they rioted. The Scottish Parliament and the Scottish Church's Parliament both signed a covenant saying no one was allowed to change Scotland's religion without going through them. Charles can't abide lest the Puritans in England get any ideas, the bunch of weirdos, and that means war. And war means money. Oh sure, he fought with his own money for a while, but any chance to end the war quickly left when the Scots tricked him into thinking their army was 10 sizes too big. So the only solution was Parliament. Look, calling a parliament in the first place, that's a pretty big concession. So let's give a big hip hip hurrah for England and save our grievances for later, huh? But by now, Parliament had a long list of grievances. Charles says he'll give up ship money in exchange for a grant. Parliament says, now see here, oh, not again. Then realized, oh right, he still had to fight a war in Scotland, and he called Parliament again.
For fuck's sake. It's fucking bullshit.
Is motorway.
Now see here, you can't go around dissolving us like that. It really messes with your head. Parliament can be dissolved only with consent by Parliament, and must hereafter meet at least once every 3 years at a minimum, and no more spontaneous arrests. Parliament arrests Charles' advisors, claiming they were inspiring the king to do evil and trying to maintain the delicate film of polite incredulity that the real problem was the king. That is, if the king would just play along. Furthermore, they arrest his deputy in Ireland, meaning there will be no absolute monarchy anywhere in the British Isles. And also the Scottish win the war anyway. Without the Lord Deputy of Ireland's boots on the ground, Ireland rebels. Charles and Parliament both agree somebody should do something about that, but neither one of them is willing to raise an army if the other one is going to lead it. Parliament then does a whole bunch of spring cleaning, kicking out all their bishops, giving themselves the right to veto the king's cabinet, and King Charles puts his foot down. King Charles! You can't be in here! The other scenes were for the sake of simplicity. The king has never set foot in the House of Commons for the sake of law and order. Ha! You're not gonna believe this. Here's law, and here's order. They just want to have a little chat with the men who are leading all of this. Bring me John Hampden, Arthur Hasselrig, John Pym, and the rest of those empty seats. Where are they? May it please your majesty, I saw what Parliament says I saw, and I'll tell you what Parliament says I'll tell you. It's not quite as intense a moment as I was led to believe by the scene with Obi-Wan Kenobi that made me choose this topic in the first place, but it's clear things are headed in the direction of war. Charles moves his family out of London. Parliament delivers their demands. Charles moves across the country to gather weapons and soldiers until... No! You can't come in! Hombre, I am your king. Oh, tough nuggies, innit? Charles orders the man to be arrested as a traitor, but what's he gonna do about it? He lays siege to the town and the English Civil War has officially begun. A general layout of the war for you. Parliament's got the south, the east, and the big cities. Charles has got the north, the Wales, and the countryside. Scotland supports Parliament on the condition that England become Presbyterian. The Irish supported Charles, believing he'd be more receptive to a pro-Catholic Ireland. Charles has a good opportunity to defeat a major parliamentarian army, but instead of speeding towards London, he stops to violently sack a city or two along the way, giving the parliamentarian army enough time to make it to London first and warn everyone about the horrible things this king is going to do to everybody in town if Parliament loses. Not to mention he's allied with the scary Irish Catholics! Charles makes his own parliament in Oxford, it doesn't do much. The London Parliament decides they're not very good at running an army, actually, and creates the New Model Army, led by army men who are not allowed to be in government, and vice versa. Except for... Maybe next time. The parliamentarians split their forces. It doesn't work. Charles splits his forces. It doesn't work. Charles is outmatched and he surrenders, but pointedly, he surrenders to the Scots. He shows up in their camp and they go, "Oh my God, King Charles, how did you get here? What a surprise!" But they knew. They knew exactly why he was there. He was there to make a deal. They say, some time ago, an envoy from France planted in us an idea to make a separate peace with the king. Worst kept secret in Britain, amigo. Yes, thank you. Of course, his idea was to drive a wedge between Scotland and England and one day reignite the old alliance between France and Scotland. So why should I agree with him? It so happens, some folks in England are of the idea that there shouldn't be an official state religion, and we should all be welcome to worship as we please. Bunch of pillocks. Frankly, we could give a hoot about all the duties and taxes and privileges and whatever it is they're so upset about in London. Make Presbyterianism the state religion in England and Scotland, and we will fight for you to be on the throne. I think you mean to say you couldn't give a hoot. Oh my God! Charles reasoned that in peacetime, men are led from the pulpit more than by the sword, and if the church doesn't have him as its supreme leader, then maybe people might start to question giving all the power in the country to a singular man. So he said no. The Scots didn't really know what to do with him, so they sold him to the English. It was true, though, what he said about different people having different ideas about religion. Divisions were already starting to form among the revolutionaries. It's very easy to unite in order to oppose something. It's a lot more difficult to decide who or what gets to replace it. In England, Parliament was torn between the Presbyterians, who, again, anti-bishop, and the Independents, who wanted no state religion. The army, by this point, was quickly becoming a political faction all its own, mostly independent, but then the army elected a bunch of representatives to go to Parliament to present their grievances, to which Parliament rolled its eyes and said the army would be paid, you know, eventually. And then within the army, the rank-and-file soldiers were degrees more radical than their superior officers. Charles was playing the waiting game. The Independents will fight the Presbyterians, and then the Scots will fight the English, and Parliament will fight the army, and the army will fight itself, and they'll all realize how badly they need their king, their Leviathan.
So, you think you know how
I need to go
use it?
get a
Well,
drink
I
in a
can do
minute.
more. Get advanced in 6 industry tools to become a data analyst by
Shut
August.
up.
Start today with 15 minutes.
What the fuck? Really? What the fuck? Just frozen. What the fuck? Okay. I'm doing quite so shit. Now.
Within the army, the rank-and-file soldiers were degrees more radical than their superior officers. Charles was playing the waiting game. The Independents will fight the Presbyterians, and then all... Problem is, someone has to be in charge in order to negotiate with Charles. Charles' fate depends on who wins, and oftentimes, that's not the moderates. The army steals Charles away from the Parliament and tries to negotiate with him, but Charles isn't ready to pick a side just yet. The Scottish and English Presbyterians are getting antsy because they don't like the army getting all political. They say, hey Charles, would you just try Presbyterianism for 3 years? Just try it, you'll like it. And Charles says, yes, it's Civil War time, baby. The Scottish and the Presbyterians were not the right choice. The Second Civil War goes very badly for Charles and friends. He's taken back to England to continue negotiating with Parliament because, well, he's the king, you know? Parliament's gotta negotiate with him. But the army is done playing this game. Colonel Thomas Pride walks into Parliament, refuses to let anyone in who isn't on the side of the army, and arrests another 45 MPs. You're no better than King Charles! You can't do that! Or what? You're gonna start a civil war against the army? Of 470 members in total, 83 are present for the vote when they declare that England will not be negotiating with Charles. What's left of the House of Commons passes an act formally accusing Charles of treason. It fails in the House of Lords. Sod the sodding lords! I'll sod them in the sod! Sir? Dissolve them! Abolish them if you have to! Just get me that trial! 3 Chief Justices find it unlawful. We hereby create the law that says we can try the sodding king! How do you plead? To what? Treason against myself, am I right, Villiers? Oh, that's a confession to me. To the Axeman! They actually recorded that as a confession, and then continued to call witnesses just to get everyone hyped for the verdict. Out of 135 judges specifically chosen for the trial, about half actually showed up and declared him guilty. Charles was a little flabbergasted, but surprisingly chill. He asked for an extra shirt so he wouldn't shiver in the cold and let people think he didn't want to die. Embarrassing. And other than that, you know, he dug his feet in the sand all his life, but once he saw the end, he was totally at peace. Guilty of all the treasons, murders, rapines. How about that, huh? I know, dude. Wild. See you in heaven, though? Bet. Is my hair good? Yeah, man, you're good. Fair enough. Alright, on my signal. Later, losers.
Fuck's sake. Hurry up.
Chapter 2. Oliver the Too Boring for this video. You know, I had high hopes for Lord Protector Oliver Cromwell, I really did. In my head, I always sort of lumped him in with Maximilien Robespierre, and my Robespierre video is one of my absolute favorites. I thought they were each a forward-thinking guy who leapt into action and spearheaded the revolution against the king for the sake of liberty and democracy. Then became corrupted, a hypocrite who fashions himself into a king in all but name, and becomes a fanatical tyrant with weird religious ideas like banning fun and love and Christmas. But
he did all those things.
No. You might have noticed last time we talked about King Charles I, the king who went to war against the Parliament and got his head cut off. And Mr. Lord Protector here only had his name come up once in passing. That's because he was the guy who won a couple of important battles, but all in all, well, he wasn't that important to the story. Now that puts me in a bit of an awkward spot, because I think England's experiment with getting rid of the monarchy is really interesting, but I don't particularly care enough to talk about its Lord Protector. So you know what? I'm not gonna, because he's overrated and I think I can get away with it. Ladies and gentlemen, the life and times of you-know-who, as told by 8 people I think are more interesting. King Charles I was the one who started all this mess, and it went something like this. I need money. Okay, get rid of the guy who burnt through our savings to get the Navy drunk. No! I need money. Okay, first of all, you still need to get rid of that guy. Second of all, we know you've been issuing war bonds. You're not allowed to arrest people for not buying them. That's not how war bonds work. Shut up! I need money! Look, we're willing to work with you, but every time we hand you a deal, you do illegal shenanigans behind our backs. You're under arrest! I need money! No! Not until you stop arresting us, and stop using loopholes to tax people without us, stop trying to abolish Parliament, stop hiring terrible advisors, stop making the church guards! Parliament and the king went to war, and Parliament won. But even in defeat, negotiating with Charles was like talking to a brick wall. And everybody wanted something different from him. The Scottish, the English, the Parliament, the Army, the officers, the soldiers, the levelers, the agitators, the Presbyterians, Episcopalians, Mammalians, Canids, Catholics, Puritans, and Bobby from Worcester. The flying
And the
spaghetti
Irish.
monster is real! Embrace his noodly appendages! But someone's gotta be in charge before anyone can start negotiating with the king. Or not negotiating with the king. Lord General Thomas Fairfax was a veteran from before the Civil War, the Army's commander-in-chief, and soon to be the most powerful man in Britain, however briefly. He's been watching as his fellow soldiers grow more and more radical. My fellow generals! Charles refuses to negotiate and refuses to give the people what they demand. He's buying time for his next opportunity to ignite war. Hear, 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 hear. And yet, Parliament, who still has not paid us, who still has not listened to our demands, the demands of their people, still they insist on negotiation. Why do they bother to appease the king who committed treason against his people? I'll tell you why. Because they intend to put him back on his throne without an ounce of accountability. The time has come. We rose up against the king. Let's rise up against the Parliament. Hear, 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 hear. Order, order. You're going to write them a strongly worded letter, and that's final. Gentlemen of Parliament, I have this strongly worded letter for you, please. We mustn't negotiate with the king. Yes, we'll have a look when we're done negotiating with the king. No, that's the whole point. Go back to sharpening your muskets, why don't you? Colonel Thomas Pride, a brewer before the start of the war, was the man sent to Westminster when General Fairfax gave the order to purge Parliament. He dismissed Parliament's regular guards and stood outside the chamber to detain 180 MPs and arrest 45. Thus, the Parliament was purged. What's left of it became known as the Rump Parliament, which put King Charles I on trial and sentenced him to death. Charles II was the oldest son of King Charles I. At one point, Parliament had considered making him king when his father refused to negotiate, but after the purge, Charles I was dead, and England was set on this whole republic thing. But Ireland and Scotland didn't get the memo. They still wanted Charles II to be their next king, causing England to declare war on both kingdoms. Scotland tells Charles, "We'll support your claim as king if you make Presbyterianism the official religion." "You'll support my claim as king no matter what?" "No, we'll support your claim as king if you make Presbyterianism the official religion." Charles says okay. Presbyterianism will be the official religion. That meant a bunch of Charles's most experienced soldiers, who were Episcopalians, either weren't allowed or didn't want to fight in the army. So it was just Scotland against England, and Scotland lost. But Charles II escaped into exile.
Period setting off
Yeah,
your
to
oh no
France.
alarm. Take back your nights with Always Secure Night Extra Pads, designed to cover up to 50% more and absorb up to 50% more, so you get to sleep peacefully. Say goodnight, Leak Worries, with up to 12-hour protection. Always.
There will be no doubt who gods have chosen to rule.
Lord Deputy Ireton, whom you might remember as being the fellow so keen to end negotiations with the first King Charles, had been promoted to Lord Deputy of Ireland. Now, unlike England and Scotland, Ireland was majority Catholic, and Lord Ireton was given more or less free rein to do whatever he wanted to the Pope lovers. So when the Irish Army's guerrilla tactics started giving him trouble, he burned down their food supplies. Sorry, did I say their food supplies? I mean all the food in several counties, triggering a famine that killed 20 to 40% of the Irish population. So that was the last of the royalist/monarchist threats to be taken care of. Back in London, Major General Thomas Harrison was not happy with the way Parliament was running things. Even after Colonel Pride's purge, once the king was dead, factions began to form and bicker with each other. Elections still had not been scheduled. It was clear England needed a new form of government, but the Rump Parliament couldn't agree on anything, and so the whole thing was disbanded by the army. Only it wasn't just a new government that England so desperately needed. There were all sorts of religious questions in the air as well. After all, the King of England was also the head of the Church of England, at least when he still had a head. And to Harrison, this was especially important. He was part of a growing movement that saw the death of the monarchy as one of the final steps before the return of Christ and the end of the world, and only the chosen ones would lead the way. And who were the chosen ones? No one knew exactly, but Harrison had an idea. Why not kill 3 birds with 1 parliament? Create a new parliament. Check. With members chosen based on their religious credentials and virtuous personalities that could guide the country spiritually. Check. Who could also become the saints that would usher in the end of days. Check. We'll call it the Parliament of Saints. So we just need to find a few dozen MPs who, so holy they're better than the 10 Commandments. Where are we gonna find even one person like that? You're looking at him. Against all odds, Harrison makes his ideas a reality, except, go figure, the parliament invented by the guy who wanted to shepherd in the apocalypse? Well, it quickly came to light that a lot of people with similar beliefs had joined that parliament, and the army wasn't ready to turn England into an apocalyptic death cult just yet.
Yep.
Enter Major General John Lambert, a successful military officer who had his own idea for how to run the government. Hey, remember how we were gonna make a deal with Charles? Sure. Yes. How we all would have been happy if he just accepted a constitution? Totally. Well, why don't we just pick somebody who'll sign the Constitution and replace Charles? Well, sure. Awesome! I wrote up a constitution yesterday. Please welcome your new king, Lord Protector, Mr. The Lord Protector was a position designed to have less power than a king, with a few checks and balances, but it was still a lifetime position. Something that might have been a positive if you were worried about some fringe movement like those apocalypse people coming to power all of a sudden. But that means they have to be very careful about who they pick. So, they settle on an army commander that everybody already knew. He was a top general, fought in all 3 kingdoms, pretty darn successful, served in parliament, politically savvy, not too radical, pretty much the kind of pragmatic compromise pick you'd come up with if you just needed somebody to not burn down the country for a hot sec.
Well.
John Smith was an average English citizen who was happy to not be on fire. Politically, everything was much the same as before. Just replace the word king with Lord Protector, and Privy Council with Council of State, and shift the balance of power just a little bit. They even brought back the House of Lords after abolishing it, but they didn't want to call it the House of Lords, but they didn't know what they did want to call it, so for several years there was just the House of Commons and the other house. The main difference politically was 15 districts led by military governors to put down royalist uprisings. And internationally, did the Lord Protector make a big difference? England fought a little war with the Netherlands because of some mercantilist law they passed during the Civil War, stopping people from trading with their colonies, but the First Anglo-Dutch War was pretty much just spicy diplomacy. There was one big thing that changed for Mr. Smith. You might have heard stories about Christmas being banned because the Lord Protector was an old stick-in-the-mud who hated children and laughter. But those sorts of puritanical laws were passed by the many Puritans in Parliament throughout the decade when the movement was having its heyday. But for all the talks of stability, the Lord Protector didn't stick around long, and all would soon change once again.
At Vistaprint, we print just about everything possible.
Hurry up.
Stickers with your logo, branded signage, or even 200 t-shirts with your face on. We're in. With our decades of know-how, we're ready to bring your ideas to life. Vistaprint. Print your possible at vistaprint.co.uk.
George Monk was the military officer who succeeded Fairfax as the head of the army. The king who wasn't a king got malaria and refused to take his medicine because it was invented by a filthy Jesuit heathen. Surprise, surprise, despite not being a king, just before he died, he nominated his son as the next Lord Protector. Monk believes in passing down the torch, but a lot of people don't like this kid and the fact that he has nowhere near the credentials of his father. In fact, John Lambert, you remember Lambert, don't you? He kicks the kid out of office, dissolves whatever parliament was currently in session, and brings back the Rump Parliament from right after Colonel Pride's purge. Monk does not like how unstable this government is becoming. He'd rather there be a more stable, long-lasting form of government. Something like the, oh, what's this? A letter from Charles II offering him a bunch of money to support a royalist uprising. Monk mulls it over and decides, okay, here I am, to put down this rebellion. Good work, Lambert. Lambert then does away with Parliament altogether because they tried to rein in the army, and everyone knows it's the army that controls Parliament, not the other way around. No one is allowed to enter Westminster. Lambert tells them all, we're doing a republic and we're doing it my way. Monk takes up the cause of Parliament and defeats Lambert in battle. He then restores the OG Parliament from before Pride's purge, the one that wanted to negotiate with Charles, and he comes to them with a plan. George, we appreciate it, but whatever new thing you're trying to sell us on, that's just it. I'm not selling you on anything new. That was when Charles II received a mysterious message. Congratulations, you are hereby named King of England. The revolution had ended in the most British way I could imagine. The king didn't triumphantly reconquer the kingdom. Society didn't collapse into anarchy. There was no foreign intervention. Everyone just decided they couldn't be bothered anymore and politely asked to do things the old way again. The end.
Chapter 3. James the
I do love a good paradox. King James II, a king who grew up fighting for his kingdom's enemies, the head of a religion he didn't believe in, a husband who fought tooth and nail for his wife while openly sleeping around, and a tyrant whose people hated him because he wasn't oppressing them enough. James II was the second son of King Charles I and raised in what you might call a broken home. King Charles was constantly looking for ways to rule England without the cooperation of Parliament, and was widely hated for making the English church slightly Catholic-y. Hold on to that thought, it's going to be important. Things finally reached a breaking point in 1642. Pack your bags, kids, we've got to go. Parliament's kicking us out.
But you're the king. I thought Parliament loved you.
Daddy and Parliament love each other very much. We're just going through a rough patch right now, so we're gonna spend some time apart. And so the English Civil War began. Charles was captured, and then he made a deal with Scotland to start a second civil war against England. He lost again, and then his head started spending some time apart from his shoulders. England decides to be a republic. Scotland and Ireland aren't too sure about that. They invite James's older brother Charles II to become king. England says, oh, no you don't, and starts a third civil war. Check it out, Civil War III! How's it going? It's just like the first two! Charles and James made like a bougie teen on gap year trying to find themselves and ran to France as fast as possible. There they were welcomed by the French king Louis XIV. I don't do kids. I don't want their grubby little fingers running through the portrait gallery. There must be something you can do with them.
Hey, kiddos. Wow, we have so much in common. I'm also fighting a war against a parliament that thinks the king shouldn't have unlimited power. Lend a hand, would ya?
James serves in the French army and gets promoted to the rank of lieutenant general, no doubt using his nifty new uniform and royal heritage to make inroads with the ladies. James was a prodigious womanizer and, quote, the most unguarded ogler of his time. Though apparently his taste in partners was unique. As one historian quipped, his mistresses must have been given to him by a priest as penance. Things are looking up when James returns to Paris. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here. What? Don't play games with me. What, just because we allied ourselves with the men who killed your father, suddenly your brother thinks he's too good for France, huh? You allied with Cromwell? But then, to cozy up to Spain? After all I've done for you. Get out of my sight! James argues with Charles, wishing he hadn't made the call to uproot and move to Spain, but James is still going to support his brother no matter what. After all, the two of them, all they've got left is each other, and a royal entourage, and lots of money, and connections to royalty across the continent, and each other. James takes a post in the Spanish military and does even better for himself than he did in France. In fact, the Spanish king offers James the chance to start a new life and take up command as an admiral of the Spanish Navy. It's everything a man could ask for. Wealth, fame, power, ladies. The King of Spain tells him the situation in England doesn't bear thinking about. It's impossible for Charles to defeat Cromwell's new model army. And James agrees, the situation is hopeless. But Charles thinks it'll work itself out, so James is gonna stick with his brother. And Spain was right, Charles never did defeat the new model army. Something much more interesting happened. When Cromwell died, the newly elected parliament was made up mostly of moderates and people who kinda sorta want the king to come back. But the army continues to be the real force in charge of the country. One commander, named Lambert, seems to be preparing to install a new military lord protector, but
I'm gonna
another
get a
commander...
drink. And then I'll go back to playing games. Just making sure I haven't crashed. Load the game back up because timed out, and I'll go grab a drink. I will be driving around in just a public lobby though. Once I'm back. Alright, I've returned. I'm just gonna repeat the same song. Because I can. There's no other reason behind it. I don't know what I'm doing. There it is. I could be such a dick right now. Vehicular manslaughter. I'm enjoying this. Now I need a car. There it is. You're up top. Don't shoot me, motherfucker. Oh, they're fucking running from the police. Alright. What the fuck? Is it? Get this car back out. Didn't cost me shit. Yep, of course that immediately fucking happens. Crime. Yeah, that was the only way to get off the bridge. Definitely. Yeah. Fucking hacker, I think. Nerd. Fuck yeah. Didn't want to use the rifle. Or AR. To be accurate. Domed him. Where is he? Where is this bugger? For England! What the fuck? Hello. I'm enjoying myself. Good job. Is there a Titan in here? Meant to be, I think. So it used to be. No, there ain't. Oh shit. That ended far better than I thought it would. Jump! Sorry, just figuring out helicopters on computer. Fucking love it. Going down. Or not. The fuck? Hmm. Well, that's fucking quick. What? What the fuck is this about? Anyway, I'm gonna end stream now, I think.